We're really excited to be here this morning because it's so important to help you understand some of the really exciting things that are happening in our region and help you prepare as you think about what you're going to be doing once you get out of school. This is my colleague Grace, and she's going to present some exciting products that are being developed in one of our targeted industries, but I'm going to set the stage a little bit before we get to that. So, as I said, we're here to introduce you to some of the exciting things happening in our region in terms of emerging industries. And this is going to give you some food for thought, I hope, as you think about what you're going to be doing once you complete your education. Do any of you know what an innovation economy is? That word's been used a lot lately, and especially by the president, and there's some different thinking about it. Basically, it's innovation that creates economic prosperity or economic wealth. So innovation, we are finding, are really the building blocks of the future industries. And they're going to be also the building blocks of what's going to make us competitive, not only regionally, but globally. So, for example, did you know that Northeast Ohio is leading the country in developing wind turbines on the lake? You're going to be hearing something about this pretty soon. There's going to be a major announcement. We're looking to create an industry in Northeast Ohio that's going to result in a lot of jobs over the next 10 to 20 years and put Northeast Ohio in the forefront of the country in wind turbine and wind deployment on the Great Lakes. There's a lot of wind turbines that are being done in Norway and Sweden, but this would be the first freshwater wind farm in the United States. So this is all happening here in Northeast Ohio, so stay tuned to the news over the next few weeks for more on that. Also, did you know that Kent State University is the world's first research center that developed the liquid crystals that are used now in monitors for televisions, for computers, for different kinds of displays like in airplanes? That all came out of this region. It is leading the world in terms of the liquid crystal technology, and Grace is going to talk a little bit more how we're deploying that into new technologies. Did you know that there's a company in Northeast Ohio that takes your plastic water bottles and turns them into crude oil that can then be used for gasoline? So these are very exciting technologies that are helping to drive a new economy. So, as I mentioned, the technologies really are the building blocks. They're the building blocks for our future, they're the building blocks to keep us competitive, and they're the building blocks that are going to provide jobs for you all. Before we get into some of the emerging technologies, I want to tell you a little bit about Nortech. We're about economic development. We focus on helping Northeast Ohio build these emerging industries. And how do we do that? We do that by connecting large companies and small companies and research and centers and universities. We help connect them to drive innovation, to help commercialize technologies, and to help them grow their business. And we do it where it's based in our region so that we create what we call a cluster of interconnected companies and organizations that are dependent on one another for their business, and it helps them stay here and create the jobs here in Northeast Ohio and create economic wealth for Northeast Ohio. So that's what we do. We're focused on three emerging industries right now. One is advanced energy. And advanced energy are technologies and processes that help to produce electricity or energy that will have a positive impact on the environment and also help our energy supply. We want our nation to be less dependent on foreign sources of energy, such as oil, and we want to be able to produce energy that is clean and protects our environment. So for example, wind, what I just mentioned earlier, that's advanced energy. The plastic bottles to the crude oil, that's advanced energy. Another thing that we're working on right now is energy efficiency. I just talked to one of our companies yesterday, and they're working on a technology where you could take your iPhone and check and see what the temperature is in your home, and if you want it cooler or warmer, you can set that right from your iPhone. So there's all kinds of technologies, again, that are centered around advanced energy. It's a very broad, very large emerging industry. Another emerging industry that we are focused on is water technologies. And these are technologies that are going to create ways to clean up industrial wastewater quicker and less expensive than what they're doing right now. And with our water supply in the world becoming more and more scarce, this is incredibly important. We're so lucky because we have a wonderful resource with Lake Erie right at our fingertips, but imagine some of the other parts of our country, like Colorado, that doesn't have access to such a large body of water, or New Mexico, and let alone other parts of the world that don't have access to water. So being able to keep that water clean is going to be critically important as we move on. And then the third technology that we're focused on is flexible electronics. And this is kind of the next generation of the liquid crystals technology that I spoke about earlier at Kent State. This is the ability to actually print on flexible surfaces. And the opportunities that this is going to bring is really going to change the world. Grace is going to talk more about it. What I wanted to just mention are a couple of quick examples before she gets into it. But for example, down the road, we're looking at, let's say you've got your Navy sweatshirt on and you want to change it to a black sweatshirt or a green sweatshirt. You can press a little button, and with this technology, you'll be able to do it. Let's say you're painting, excuse me, your wall, and you want to go from beige to green. With this technology, you could press a button and do it. So that's what's coming down the road. It's very, very exciting, and there's all kinds of other applications. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Grace, and she's going to get more into what we're doing in this exciting new emerging industry.
All right, great. Well, thanks for having me, everyone. Do any of you ever toy around with this Prezi presentation? Yeah, so you know, so this isn't as cool as I thought it was. I was really dazzled sitting in my cubicle putting this together. So if you're not inspired, you should know that it brought me a lot of joy to put this together for you. All right, look at that going into the eye. So as Karen gave a brief description, let's just go over a quick definition of what flexible electronics are so we can all sort of start on a level playing field. Flexible electronics is a new science and manufacturing opportunity to produce ultra-thin devices on surfaces that bend, flex, something you might be most familiar with, polymers. So being able to print circuits on plastic, that's a big thing, a big part of flexible electronics. So liquid crystals, as Karen touched on some of the cooler applications, let's start with a definition again. Organic materials which exhibit certain properties of solids while otherwise acting like a liquid. So to me, that definition, you know, there's some fluidity in the material. It's capable of changing. That's what the liquid says to me. But that solids portion, what does that mean? To me, that means that it has a possibility of maybe becoming opaque. So you think of Venetian blinds. When the Venetian blinds are open, you can see through them. When the Venetian blinds are closed, opaque. That's when you start to see your color. That's how you get color change. Those cool applications that Karen was talking about, that's that opening and closing of the Venetian blinds. Now, under a microscope, these pictures are what liquid crystals look like. Kind of cool. All right, so let's talk about some more applications, because if you're anything like me, what I just said kind of sounded like blah, 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 blah. So let's talk about, you know, how do we really use it? So we have a company in Northeast Ohio. They're actually based out of Kent, and they have created a couple of really cool devices. Now I'm going to bring these out. I don't know how much, your after-school jobs are paying, but I have a feeling that they might not be able to buy one of these. So let's all be careful as we pass it around. However, what they've created are a technology that it's called the Tint, and this is a motorcycle face shield. So, oh my goodness, it's so dark. I have my face shield, and then with the click of a button, you can switch to light if you move into a light surface. Now this is different than, say, if you've ever seen a lens crafters commercial where they have those lenses that they kind of subtly move from light to dark. If any of you have friends, they'll go from bright outside, they come inside, their glasses are still tinted for like 10 minutes, they can't see. So this is different because it happens with the flick of a switch. It's an electric current that makes that switch of the Venetian blinds happen. Now that only has 2 settings. However, Alpha Micron is also working on a request from the military to create a spectacle. Currently, all of our troops, when they're deployed, they're given a eyeglass set, which, so if you want to change the lenses, you simply, take out your screwdriver, your small repair kit, and build yourself a new pair of lenses while you're out in the field. Well, you can imagine how that's a little time consuming and maybe not the best for, running into a cave if you have to stop, bring out your toolkit, and build your glasses. So Alpha Micron is currently creating a prototype, and this is a prototype, so one of a kind. Just, going to reiterate that it's pretty cool. But in any event, these glasses have the capability of switching, so from light to dark, and then if you double click in the dark setting, it turns into a blue. And you'll be able to see that a little better up close when I pass these around. And there's also an orange setting for when you're in like a medium light. I'm not great at getting there. There's something about another double click, so I'll let you toy around with that. All right, so that's Alpha Micron. They're based out of Kent. Kent Displays, similarly based out of Kent, is using liquid crystals in another technology application. This one is more of an educational or commercial electronic, and it's called the Boogie Board. Has anyone seen one of these before? Oh, over here on this side. All right. Do you know much about it? Do either of you feel comfortable? Nope? Okay, that's fine because I would love to talk about it. So the Boogie Board is, it's an e-paper. Kent Displays has sort of coined that term. But essentially, it provides you with a writing surface. It's similar to a paper and pen experience that you might have with writing, and different than the electric current that sort of makes the Venetian blinds change here. This is a reaction just simply in the pressure applied. It kind of makes that the Venetian blind change. So this is a pretty cool device in that because it's liquid crystal powered as opposed to with an electric current, it doesn't run on a battery. The only battery that's needed is to simply erase. So the lifetime on these type of devices is much longer. So that's a really cool device, and they're a product right now that's making a lot of commercial headway. They have the Boogie Board RIP, which is here. They have a Boogie Board Jot that goes on your refrigerator. They have all sorts of products at different applications, and they've actually entered the market. So they're making money. They're already creating jobs here in Northeast Ohio. So that's a company that when Obama comes and he wants to see manufacturing in Northeast Ohio, he comes to Kent Displays. So, all right. So this is sort of cool too. This is the National Additive Manufacturing Innovation Institute. Again, sort of just a gauge. Has anyone heard of this, NAMI, or any of Obama's innovation institutes that he's hoping to set up around the country? This is great, so I can just tell you anything. You don't know. So this is one of a potential 15 innovation institutes around the country. Obama's invested, or promised, I should say, $1 billion to build each of these innovation institutes. And this particular one deals with 3D printing. So that was a pair of glasses. That was the frame. Additive manufacturing. It's a process of printing successive layers of film on top of one another. In that case, it was a polymer, it was a plastic. However, it can be a metal, it can be a cement, and the applications for this are sort of endless. So you think your iPhone, you broke it, you have to take it to the Mac store, and they tell you, oh, it's going to be a couple weeks, we have to get this part, you know, the whole rigmarole. I'm sure none of you know that frustration. So with the idea of 3D printing, maybe the Apple Store has a 3D printer and they can just print the part for you there. So here's another company. They're based out of Akron. They're called ADAP Nanotech. And ADAP Nanotech makes a film that is, well, it's interesting for a couple of reasons, but it uses some biomimetic principles. Has anyone heard of biomimicry? You can kind of guess from the name what that might have to do with. But biomimicry is the process of emulating nature to solve human problems. So in the case of ADAP Nanotech, the inventor, his name is Sonny, he used structural design to solve chemical problems. So these are the nanofibers here, and the way that they're aligned, they've created a structural adhesive. So I'm going to pass this around, but this stickiness that you feel on here, that isn't a chemical stickiness. It's not like your Scotch tape. It's not like a glue. It's actually the alignment of these nanofibers are making this sticky. So I'll pass this around. And then the second biomimetic principle that Sonny implemented was a self-cleaning technique. Is everyone familiar with a lotus flower? There's that sort of iconic image of it coming up out of the mud and being completely clean. Well, the structure of a lotus flower petal, it helps to ball up the liquid, and then so there's this self-cleaning, and it just sort of repels water naturally. So that's a cool thing about this is that because it self-cleans, that structural integrity, it lasts longer, and as opposed to a piece of Scotch tape, you rip it off and it's kind of done for, this is going to keep being sticky. So that's kind of cool. So two more companies. The first is Blue Spark, who you might not be familiar with, and Blue Spark prints a battery. These are batteries. They're made on a printer, probably a little different than your inkjet at home, but the same idea. They don't have a chemical process inside of them. They're not filled with the acids that are typically in traditional batteries. So, there's a couple of cool things about that, right? The first is that it's green. The second is that it's a little bit more durable. You're not going to run into a situation where you have acid exploding out of these batteries. And then that also speaks to the disposability. You know, what do you do if you're a toy company and you're going through hundreds and thousands of batteries with your toys? You know, there has to be some sort of accountability there, corporate citizenship. So these kind of provide an answer to that. So here are the thinner batteries. Now, what's an application for that? What sort of makes sense? And as Karen talked about, we're in a cluster of companies. So we provide our companies in Northeast Ohio an outlet to connect with one another. So another cluster company is American Greetings, which you can't really see their logo, but I think the rose, sort of iconic. So American Greeting makes electronic greeting cards. But where's the battery go in this? It has to be tucked into the back. It has to be thin. It has to be durable. These are consumer goods. These aren't something that people are, putting in a frame on the mantle. It's something that you're passing around, you're showing, and particularly if it's an electronic card, you're probably going to open and close it 1,000 times. I'm going to pass this around. The thing is that if you blow out the candles, it's going to sing. And then that could be distracting. So maybe afterwards, we could do a cool demonstration of it. But this is a really cool card and a great application of that thin printed battery. So what do all of these companies mean? Why is that important for you as you start looking towards your education? And there's a couple of reasons. So Blue Spark and American Greetings took advantage of a program brought on by Ohio Third Frontier. Ohio Third Frontier is it's a statewide program here in Ohio. It has a $2.3 billion pot of money that is being invested into our technology economy, manufacturing, innovation, and then also developing the workforce to fill those jobs that these emerging technologies are going to create. And as such, they do a really cool internship program where they will actually provide a manufacturing or technology company with $3,000 to pay an intern for the summer. American Greetings and Blue Spark Technologies both took advantage of those opportunities. American Greetings currently, they don't have any engineers here in Northeast Ohio that can do the sort of intricate circuitry work. So that's something that they were having to ship overseas to get done. Using this program, they brought in an engineering intern who was able to spend a summer making on-the-ground electronic greeting cards. And it was a cool experience because he was the only one in the region doing that for the company. So he was really able to take a leadership position. And similarly, Blue Spark had, I think he came in and did some supply chain management, the other intern there. But so those are cool opportunities, and you know, they're of no cost to you. You know, it's a benefit to you and it's a benefit to the organization. You remember our friends at the Liquid Crystal Institute? They are a spin-out of Kent State University. So those two companies started as college students. They took their technology and mixed with a little entrepreneurial spirit, have started those businesses. ADAP Nanotech, he's based out of the University of Akron. He was a grad student. He developed this adhesion film and has gone on to, you know, start prototyping. He's in talks with GE. He's in talks with Avery Dennison, and you know, he came up with that in the lab at the University of Akron. And I would also say that the University of Akron has the first biomimicry graduate degree. So if that sounded cool to you, the University of Akron has a really cool one-of-a-kind program. All right, and NAMI is based out of Youngstown, and that's really cool. I mean, we won that. That's going to be an international center, and it's right here in Northeast Ohio. And then I do see, I can't help myself, these Hiram College entrepreneurship pamphlets. I'm a Hiram College graduate, and the Entrepreneurship Center sent me to Tanzania my junior year to study female microfinance and entrepreneurship in developing countries. So, I mean, the possibilities are sort of endless here in Northeast Ohio. Who's really leading the charge on this? Who's sort of spearheading the movement? That's Lorain County Community College. They're developing regional career pathways. So if you're interested in entering into one of these emerging technologies, they're sort of a hub for what sort of classes do you need to take. And then not only that, but they coordinate all of the internships that we at Nortech are involved in, and our cluster companies as well. So Lorain County has a lot of really great resources pre-existing, and they're looked to on a national level for the work that they've done with emerging technologies and workforce development. So why is this all important? Just, you know, a couple facts. Today, the global flexible electronics market is $31 billion. That's set to grow by 2019 to $86 billion. That's a 16% annual growth rate, which, if any of you are familiar, you know, with growth rates, that's pretty exciting. That's big. I mean, I think typically you're looking at what, 3%, 4% in a good market.
That's a good year.
Yeah, that's a great year. And now there's a $42 billion addressable market in NEO. I mean, that's a sizable chunk of this $86 billion. The Ohio Third Frontier, that's that internship program, among other things that I told you about. That's a $2.3 billion initiative. If you remember, I said that Obama was spending only $1 billion on 15 national institutes. We're spending $2.3 billion within the region. All right, and then, you know, what does all this mean? That's 3,000 direct jobs here in Northeast Ohio that are going to be waiting for you if you get involved in these emerging technologies. So that's exciting.
Thank you, Grace. Grace set the stage with flexible electronics, which is one of our major emerging industries. But what we also do, besides connecting companies and research centers for opportunities, we also raise the profile of Northeast Ohio, and we talk about these success stories and all these companies that are doing this good work on a state and national level. So as the nation is looking to create policy around energy or around funding for business, they're aware of the good work that's being done in Northeast Ohio. And that's one of the reasons why President Obama and his administration picked Cleveland and Northeast Ohio to visit last year. And he brought 5 of his cabinet members to talk to these small businesses to find out what the federal government can do to help. So that was an effort that Jumpstart and Nortech does on a national level to help raise the profile. Well, we hope this gave you at least a little bit of a flavor of some of the things that are happening and are going to continue to grow over the next several years. So as you think about where your future's headed and what kind of jobs you're going to end up doing and being attracted to, there's a lot of excitement in this area in Northeast Ohio, and you can see a lot of really, really exciting things happening. But the science and the math and the engineering and the manufacturing are all critically important, and they've become very sophisticated. So we look to all of you as our future and developing a workforce so we can continue to grow these emerging industries in our region. Thank you.